We're with Representative ShaneJett at the Capitol in your office. Representative Jett, thank you for having us.
It's always a pleasure, Daniel.
And not just us, because we have a camera. In fact, cameras a lot of times shy the legislature away from us, but just because we're constituents, and we want to encourage all your constituents to come and talk with you.
That's right. Constituents have an incredible impact here at the Capitol. It's just a matter of them picking up the phone, picking up the pen, or sending us an email to let us know what they care about.
And sometimes just personally talking on the street. There was a bill and an idea that came forth from constituency earlier this year, and you've had some run-in, I guess, recently. Talk about the process that's going on and the bill in particular.
Well, first of all, the bill is a request bill from the Lumber Yard Association, and Buford White and Jimmy Nichols and the crew out at Shawnee and Seminole area and all over the state are losing bids to out-of-state contractors who are not paying their share of the taxes that they owe. They go in, they purchase the product in in Texas, and then they'll come and do the project in Norman or Seminole, and they don't pay the taxes that they're supposed to pay, where lumber yards and contractors from our area are paying their share of taxes, and they're not on an even playing field with these other contractors that are coming in from out of state. And when they went back and looked at the amount of tax revenues being lost to the state of Oklahoma by out-of-state contractors who are not paying the fair use tax, it's costing the state of Oklahoma about $84 million a year. That's just in tax revenue losses. That doesn't mean the labor cost and the employees that are hired for the projects that are being done by out-of-state companies instead of Oklahoma companies. Now, from a procedural standpoint, what happened last night, this is deadline week, so tempers are flared, people are tired. We started at 9 a.m. yesterday, 9 a.m. this morning, and we went until 11 o'clock last night, 10:30 the night before, and tonight, who knows? We can't go past midnight by constitutional law. And the Democrats were very frustrated with some of the procedural moves on the House. And this happens. The Republicans were the same way 10 years ago. Now the Democrats are the minority, and all you really do is drag your feet to try to influence what's going on and try to get concessions from the majority, whoever it is. And so last night they saw a bill that they could take out, and so all the Democrats locked up against this particular bill. And then some of my Republican colleagues came off the floor, saw all the red votes on, and voted no because they weren't sure why everyone else was voting no. So it was just one of those casualty things that it created a perfect storm, and we lost a good bill. But there's a parliamentary procedure measure that I did. It's called, you stand up and you say, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to serve notice that some future date I might like to reconsider the vote whereby Senate Bill 1900 failed. And that's the script that you use. You say that, and you've captured the bill for the next 48 hours. So I have today and tomorrow to run the bill again, and now what I'm doing is I'm going on the House floor from desk to desk, asking people what their problem was with the bill, explaining what the bill is, and adjusting any of the concerns that they may have or misconceptions, and checking them back off on the yes column. And right now what's also going on is lumber yards and contractors all across the state of Oklahoma are coming to the Capitol or calling their state representatives saying, hey, you're going to cost us business, you're going to cost the state of Oklahoma $80 million in revenue. We have an uneven playing field because people from Texas or Kansas are bidding on projects and they're not paying their fair share of taxes. So all that's going on right now. I'm working on the inside, lumber yards are on the outside, but at the end of the day, we're going to have good policy that puts an even playing field for contractors and lumber yards throughout Oklahoma, and that's just good policy making. Yeah,
and there's two issues really that, as a constituent and an Oklahoman, that I would be thinking about. One would be, wow, $85 million in this hard-hit time. It sounds to me, Representative, like basically an out-of-state purchase. The other states just assume that the in-state, which would be Oklahoma, would then somehow catch those taxes and make up for them because that's where they're supposed to be applied. Is that correct? And talk about the process of where they're actually being lost.
Well, in the Uniform Simplified Sales Tax Act, basically tries to help facilitate trade between states. And Texas has a point of delivery sales tax collection. So if you buy in Dallas and build in Fort Worth gets those taxes. Now, Oklahoma did something similar to that. If you buy in Lowe's and Shawnee and you build in Seminole, Seminole gets those taxes. That's internally. But there's no catch on the Oklahoma side because if they purchase in a lumber yard in Weber Falls, Texas, and then they drive across the border, they're outside the radar or the overview of the Texas tax system because Texas assumes Oklahoma's going to pick up on those taxes. But We have an honor system where you come in good faith, you pay your taxes. In Texas and other out-of-state contractors just are simply failing to notify us that they owe us taxes. This is a mechanism where municipalities who bid projects, or when they go get their builder's permit, we notify them at the beginning of the project, you owe these taxes, and this is what we'll expect for you to pay, and we're going to check when you receive your builder's permit if you've remitted those taxes to the state of Oklahoma. If you haven't, we're going to electronically notify the Oklahoma Tax Commission, and they're going to go after you. And at the end of the day, it's just paying the taxes that you owe to the state of Oklahoma, and not using state borders to try to shield or shadow your work outside of the borders.
Okay, so that's how the Oklahoma lumber yards are losing business, because their goods and their goods, really, their retail goods, are not being purchased in Oklahoma. Contractors are purchasing in Texas and then bringing them to Oklahoma, because they save, in Shawnee's case or in our area's case, almost 9%
That's right.
on the purchase
That's
cost.
exactly right. And what we did is the Lumber Association and the Contractors Association got together and did a survey with all their members and tried to figure out what contracts they lost that was within a certain variance, 8 to 10%. And that's where they got the number 81 to $85 million tax revenue lost every single year, because they would underbid by about 8 to 10% that project, because it cost. We know how much it costs. If you're in the business, you know how much it costs. And if they're trucking it in from out of state and they're still saving, it's because they're not paying their taxes.
So that in turn also hurts area contractors, because the contractors and the people who work for contractors, the Oklahomans who are building homes and building businesses, are out of that particular job because they lose the bid. So that is hard. It's a double whammy, really. Now, to the procedural problem that happened on the floor last night, is that common in the sense of something that sounds like it would be very good? And how did you know, I guess, how to navigate through that to capture it? And are a lot of those bills just simply lost?
There's a lot of bills that can be lost, and some legislators say our job is really just to go out and kill as many bills as we can. Some legislators approach the process that way. And so a lot of times you'll do a lot of groundwork in advance. You'll go to your colleagues and say, hey, this is my bill, do you have a problem with it? This is my bill, do you have a problem with it? Everyone's notified, everyone has access to the computer so they can read the bills online. When in 2005, we put into place a minimum time that it would be available to the public to see, so that there was accountability and transparency. But there's so much flurry of activity, it's hard to keep track of everything. And so we're really dependent upon the different associations like the Lumberyard Association or our constituents that are in particular industries to be also monitoring so we can represent them better, because there's an incredible amount of flow of information going on. Sometimes it's, you have someone working behind the scenes that you don't know, and if they are, they don't come and say, oh, by the way, I'm trying to kill your bill. Mm-hmm. They just do it under the radar. Sometimes it's just a matter of tempers are flared, the Democrats were upset, the Republicans walked off, they were flat-footed, and they didn't know why everyone was going red, so they voted red just to be safe. Well, procedurally, what you do when that happens is, as soon as that vote is declared, you notify the speaker by raising your microphone and getting his attention, and then you say what I said. Mr. Speaker, at some future date, blah, 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 blah. Then you hold that bill and you have it in your possession. Then you go back through and work the members again, make sure that you get them to agree with you. But, if you talk about this bill and the real implication in the local area, when I was going to Oklahoma Baptist University, I worked with a local contractor building roofs and roofing churches around the area, and that's how I helped pay for my tuition. And so what that means in real terms is you have someone from out of state coming in, not paying their fair share of taxes, and then OBU kids, St. Gregory's kids, local kids lose out on those job opportunities. And so it really impacts on the local level. Policy, what we do here, has an impact out there in the real world.
Yeah, and that is a great example of why and how that we need to engage. We simply need to communicate on the issues that are important, or even the ideas that are important for us with you, our elected officials.
That's right. That's right. When I hear from my constituent, I stop and pay attention. They're my employers.
Thank you, Representative Jett, as always, for talking with us.
Daniel, thank you.